I'm Jeffrey Thomas from Airline News with Jeffrey Thomas. The focus today is on MH370, the fabulous news that the Malaysian government has agreed to an Ocean Infinity contract to restart the search for MH370, possibly as early as the first weeks of January. It's an 18-month contract on a no find, no fee basis. Bringing in now one of the major people involved in the search for MH370, Blaine Gibson, who has found more debris than anyone else, but more importantly, has encouraged locals to hand debris in, and also made local folks on the shores of Africa and the surrounding islands aware of the fact that this debris could possibly be from MH370. So now, Blaine, you must be very, very excited by the news of the MH370 search resuming. Perhaps you can give us your initial thoughts.
Well, thank you for inviting me here, Jeffrey, and thank you for your always supporting a new search and finding the truth. I am absolutely delighted with this news. The search is going to happen. I think they are going to find the plane this time. And I've always said and felt, I do not want to go down in the history of MH370 as the person who found most of the recovered pieces of the plane. I want to go down as the person who found a few pieces of the plane that helped lead to the search that finds the main crash site, the underwater wreckage, the truth, and the proof to give the families and flying public the answers we all deserve.
Look, that's very modest of you, but there is no question that your impetus using the research from Professor Chari Patarachi from the University of Western Australia, one of the world's leading oceanographers, who told you where to go and find the debris, has been a major factor in the search for MH370. And of course, then we must also acknowledge the incredible work of Richard Godfrey and others, of course, who have done a lot of the scientific work outside the official investigation, that have sort of all contributed to the search, and also the pressure on the Malaysians to go look again.
Yes, and I have the utmost respect for their work. I met Professor Patarachi at University of Western Australia early on, before I found any debris, just after the flaperon was found. And he showed me his drift analysis and told me that the most likely crash site was in his UWA recommended area between 28.3 degrees south to 33.2 degrees south, wider along the 7th arc. And that guided me. He told me to go to Mozambique and Madagascar, and he told me when to go, about 2 years after the crash. And I did, and I found no step in Mozambique first, where he'd said to go. Then I found and collected from local people about 21 more pieces of debris. So that's 22 total pieces of 370 debris, mostly found by local people, and I collected it from them, but I found some myself. So University of Western Australia accurately predicted where and when debris would arrive, and guided me in my search and led to my finding those pieces of the plane.
Yep.
However, that's a large area between 28.3 and 33.2 degrees south. And the Inmarsat data narrows it down. And now the work of Richard Godfrey and Hannes Coetzee has narrowed it down even more to about 29 degrees south, an area most of which has never been searched. And that is within, at the northern part, and within the University of Western Australia area. So we have these three things lining up: the UWA drift analysis, and the Inmarsat data, and the Whisper data.
So we have the hard physical evidence of the debris. We have the satellite data from Inmarsat, and now we have breakthrough technology, or the refinement of this technology by Richard Godfrey, that really does narrow it down to a very small area. Well, relatively small area compared. But I mean, this is wonderful news for the relatives who have been left behind and have been on the most ghastly roller coaster ride. I mean, you've met many of them. I've met a few of them, and their harrowing tales bring tears to your eyes. And they've been subjected to what is over 120 books written about the disappearance of MH370, with some ludicrous suggestions that they don't really know. They're not aeronautical people. They're not aviation people. They're relatives of people who have been lost, and they don't know whether it's in the Cambodian jungle or Afghanistan or the Maldives or Diego Garcia. That's hopefully for them, this search will bring all of that to a close. And
I hope
hopefully,
so too.
we know that Ocean Infinity's vessel is on the move. Um, it's at the moment, it was suggested that it was heading towards Mauritius. That apparently is now not the case, but it's still underway, tracking down towards the southern part of the Indian Ocean. Mind you, at the moment, it's in the northern section around Java, but it is on the move. So hopefully, it's going to uh, take up position ready to start searching. Now, we know that Ocean Infinity is also looking at a couple of other hotspots apart from that of Richard Godfrey, using the Whisper technology, which has been supported by Professor Simon Maskell from the University of Liverpool. And he has essentially verified Richard's work as being accurate and correct. But there are a couple of other hotspots as well that possibly that Ocean Infinity may look at. We don't know what their schedule is. We don't know which area they're going to go to first. Do you have any thoughts on that, Blaine?
Well, yes, I do. I have met both Professor Chari Pattiaratchi of University of Western Australia and David Griffin. I've got the utmost respect for both of them. Griffin is with CSIRO. And if you combine the two drift analysis, UWA is 28.3 to 33.2, and then CSIRO would extend that as far south as about 36.5 or 36.6 degrees south. So within the UWA and CSIRO area, there are different hotspots. And I know what those are. I respect those. And my hope is that Ocean Infinity will search until the plane is found, especially hitting those hotspots in the CSIRO and UWA area. Now, Richard Godfrey's Whisper site is at about 29 degrees south. That's the northern part of the UWA area. There's the simulation location at Broken Ridge, which is 32.5 degrees south, 96.5 degrees east. That was used to guide me in my search for debris, but it is not meant as a crash site, but it is a hotspot. Also, Ulich and Exner and Iannello have identified around 34.5 some gaps and anomalies that are worth another look. Mm-hmm. And also there's new work by Blely and Marchand, which was presented in the Mentor pilot documentary at around 36.5 to 35.7 degrees south, 35.7 being their hotspot. My understanding is that Ocean Infinity wants to search until found and check all of those out. And I think if it does, I think if they do 28.3 to 36.5 wider from the seventh arc, they will find the plane. And it's their ship, their money, their risk. They can set the priorities as they wish. I've always made it clear that I think the plane is somewhere between 29 degrees south and 33 degrees south in the UWA area. That's where I think they'll find it.
Yeah, indeed. And certainly, I'm very encouraged by the peer reviewing done of Richard's work by Professor Simon Maskell and his team. And there's quite an extensive amount of work that's been done over the last year, widening the capabilities of the whisper technology that Richard has refined with some software programs to accelerate the processing of the data. So, I mean, it is very exciting. And I think the level of confidence is very high that with combining all the elements, all the hotspots, all the technology, and also, of course, the advances in the underwater search, in the underwater search space, I think we're really going to find it this time. And I don't think there's any doubt about that at all. This must be a tremendous relief to the relatives that the search is going to restart. Have you spoken to any of the relative groups, Blaine?
Yes, I have. In fact, I think I can share that the first notice I got of Minister Loke's announcement that they'd agreed in principle was from Grace. She sent it to me as soon as she got it. And I know how delighted they are and how hopeful they are that this will finally be put to rest and they'll get the answers they deserve. They always tell me is don't do this just for us. This isn't just about us. This is about everyone who flies. We all need to know that when we get on a plane, we're not just going to disappear.
Comes to this because we do need to know exactly what happened and why it happened, so that when people do get on board an aircraft, they are completely relaxed about the fact that they're going to get to their destination. This has question marks about it. There's all sorts of speculation as to what went on and what did not go on. We need to wait until we find the wreckage and then examine the wreckage, look at the black boxes, look who's in the cockpit, if there's anything still left there, to try and get to the exact cause of this terrible tragedy, which occurred nearly 11 years ago, which is extraordinary.
Because the main thing is renewing the search and finding the crash site and the underwater debris field. That will give us the answers. That is the important focus. And the debris helps lead to that.
Yep, absolutely. That is definitely the main game. And, we'll be keeping viewers up to date 24/7 on developments as they occur. We've got some excellent channels to the search group, and we will be probably the first place to learn what's happening about MH370. I'm Geoffrey Thomas.
Yes,